Okay, let's try this again. So everyone find a comfortable seat. You can either be sitting on the floor, on a pillow or a block, or you can sit in a chair if that's more comfortable. The most important thing is to find a comfortable seat with a nice straight spine. So any seat that supports a straight spine and isn't distracting to you is good. And so go ahead and get comfortable, find a nice seat, and settle into your body. So feel your body, feel your bones in your body, feel the weight of your bones, feel your feet or your legs on the ground, connecting you to the ground. And then go ahead and feel your hips, feel your chest above the hips, stacking above the hips with a nice straight spine. Let's roll the shoulders up to the ears and back and down, keeping the shoulders nice and relaxed. And then stack the neck over the chest, slightly tuck in the chin, and reach the crown of the head straight up to the sky. So just feel your body here. Feel this nice, comfortable seat. And so now let's go ahead and close your eyes if you haven't yet. Let's take a nice deep breath in. And on the exhale, imagine a wave of relaxation starting at the top of your head, moving down through your face, through your neck, and your shoulders, and down through your chest, through the hips, through your legs and feet into the earth. So take another nice, deep, nourishing inhale, filling your lungs with clean, pure air. And as you exhale, imagine this wave of relaxation cascading down your entire body, washing away any stress, any tension that you might be feeling. So just keep doing this while we meditate. Keep inhaling this clean, purifying breath and exhaling away any stress, any tension, any thoughts rattling around your mind. Let go of your day, let go of any craziness that happened to you. Just let it all go. Let it all wash away, wash down out of your body into the earth. So if you'd like to use music, go ahead and hit play now, and we'll all come back in a couple minutes. So just keep doing that. Keep doing that relaxation technique. Breathing in deep, cleansing air, and exhaling any stress or tension. Okay. So as you're ready, let's gently return our awareness to the body. Might wiggle the fingers and toes a little bit. Just kind of move the body a little bit. Just slowly returning our attention to our body. Great. So hopefully everyone's feeling a little more relaxed now, a little more or less stressed out. So before I begin, I wanted to start with a little bit of a disclaimer. So I'm not any kind of expert or authority on meditation. I don't claim to know the truth or have all the answers or anything like that. But I have been studying and practicing meditation for over a decade now, I think coming up on 13 years or so. And meditation has unequivocally made my life better. And I've reached a point now where I feel like it's time for me to share some of what I've learned from teachers and from books and from life experience. And so that's why we're here today. When it comes to meditation and matters of spirituality, there's very few concrete absolute truths. Um, Everyone's different and everyone's path is different, and different approaches work for different people. So if the things that I'm saying make sense to you and resonate with you, then that's great. You might want to keep listening. But on the other hand, if the things I'm saying sound like a steaming load of horse crap, then that's great too, because everyone's different and different things work for different people. Okay, so that being said, let's get into the fun stuff. So, talking about why bother meditating? What's the point of meditating? And for me, the point of meditating is that it makes my life better. It makes me happier. It makes me a little less crazy in the head. For me personally, before I found meditation, my life was kind of a struggle. I was struggling to find purpose and find meaning in life. And it wasn't until I found meditation that I really found some kind of sense of meaning for my life. But every person's life or every person's path is different. And so wherever you are in life, if your life is not going great or if your life is really good, meditation can make your life better. That's because meditation helps us enjoy whatever experience we're doing more. Because when we quiet the mind, when the mind's not running so much to the inner dialogue, then it's easier to fully experience whatever it is we're doing in the present moment. And so that might not make a lot of sense. So I'll ask another question and open this up for discussion. What is fun? What makes something fun? What makes an experience fun? How would you define that? So does someone want to chime in with an answer?
Something that makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, what makes you happy?
Dancing.
I mean, but how do you define? How do you know when you're happy?
Happy. I feel good inside. I feel, I have good. I'm not thinking about stress. I'm not thinking, about the future or the past. I'm kind of just enjoying, um, the moment, whether it's dancing or eating or hanging out with friends and
Uh-huh.
just laughing. And yeah, and sharing a beautiful conversation with somebody, you know um, yeah, those things make me happy.
Great. How about anyone else? How do you define fun? So how do you know when you're happy?
This is Gina in the other room. And I think for me, there's a lightness, there's a feeling of joy, and your whole spirit feels lighter and less burdened, and I don't know, I just feel like all your cells are tingling in a way. It's just, there's an elation there when you're having fun.
Yeah, great. Anyone else want to chime in? Okay, well, yeah, those are both great answers. I think one way to think about it, to me, the way I think about it, is that something's fun when, like Hugo was saying, like Gina was saying, when it pulls you fully into the moment and you forget about the rest of the world and you're just fully engaged in what you're doing. And time flies by effortlessly, and your body, yeah, your heart feels light, your soul feels light. And so that's one way to define fun. And meditation one way to think about meditation is it's a way to do that directly. So to just directly become fully engaged in the present moment and forget about the rest of the world, forget about um, all the stress going on in your life, all the craziness in your life, and just be fully present and fully engaged in the present moment. And so that's how meditation can help us have more fun. And that brings us to another topic I want to talk about, mindfulness. And so mindfulness, one way to think about mindfulness is that it's trying to cultivate a meditative state throughout the day. So no matter what you're doing all day long, even when you're not actively trying to sit and meditate, mindfulness is trying to prevent that inner dialogue from constantly chattering along and distracting you from the present moment. And so, because when we're not distracted by the mind comparing what we're doing to our expectations of what we think we should be doing, then it's much easier to just enjoy what we're doing. So when the mind's not distracted by thoughts like, or what can make this experience better, or what we did last week that was more fun, or what we're going to do later tonight that's more fun, or why that guy Jeff is such a jerk. If we're not distracted by all these thoughts, then it's much easier to be fully present in what we're doing and just enjoy what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So that brings us to how we do it. So how do we quiet the mind? I'm sure you've probably tried to just tell the mind to be quiet, and that doesn't work very well. There's a great quote from The Simpsons, a line where one time Homer Simpson says, "Quiet brain or I'll stab you with a Q-tip." So it can feel like that sometimes when if we try to force the mind to be quiet, it just doesn't cooperate. It keeps talking and keeps coming up with all these thoughts. And there's a good quote from Alan Watts that I like, who said that trying to control your own mind is like trying to bite your own teeth. So it's just kind of impossible, because the you that has to do the controlling is the same you that needs to be controlled. So it's just physically impossible to try to control your mind and try to force the mind to be quiet. So let go of any notions of trying to force the mind to be quiet. Let go of any ideas of trying to make your mind be quiet. Instead, an easier way to do it is to just start observing the mind. So just start noticing how your mind is constantly creating thoughts. Your mind's constantly throwing thoughts up in your consciousness, one after another, one by one. And if you start to notice this, we start observing how the mind is constantly creating thoughts, then we start to have some distance from the thoughts, and they cease to control us as much. So when we start observing the mind and witnessing how it's constantly in action, creating these thoughts, then we start to have some detachment from the mind. And that's how we can become more quiet. So not by trying to force the mind to be quiet, but just by noticing how the mind gets quiet, or just by noticing how the mind is constantly active and finding some space from the mind. So let's try that right now in our next meditation. So go ahead, before we get settled, if you want to play music, get that ready. I'll tell us all when to hit play. And for this meditation, we're going to focus on the third eye, Ajna chakra. It's right here in the middle of the forehead, at this level, but kind of in the middle of the head, halfway between the front and the back of the skull. And a good thing about meditating on the third eye is it helps us find more clarity in life, helps us find more insight, and it helps us see things as they really are. So for this meditation, let's just try to keep your awareness on the third eye, on that area right in the center of your head. And if you like visualizations, you might imagine that the third eye is kind of like this peg sticking out of a sheer wall, and you're holding on to it for dear life. But it's the only thing preventing you from falling to your doom, and you're just trying to hold on to it with everything that you have. So let's try to do that for this meditation. And whenever you notice the mind wandering, whenever you find yourself distracted, just notice that. Kind of say, that's interesting, I'm thinking again. And so whenever you notice yourself thinking, just gently guide your attention back to the third eye. No matter how many times it happens, it might happen a lot, and that's perfectly normal. But don't get angry, don't get frustrated. Just notice that it's happening, and then gently guide your thoughts, guide your attention back to the third eye. Okay, so let's go ahead and get settled in a nice, comfortable seat again. The straight spine and minimal distractions. And so if you want to use music, you can go ahead and hit play now, and we'll come back together in a few minutes. So just focus on that third eye and notice when thoughts come up, and bring your attention back to the third eye. Okay. So gently bring your awareness back into the body. So how was that for everyone? How did that technique work? Does anyone want to share what that was like?
Well, when you're trying to pay attention to letting your mind go, there's a lot of thoughts coming through. There's a lot of letting go that has to happen. I
Yeah.
think I'm busy today because coming off work and going straight to meditation is not always. I haven't downshifted my brain yet.
Mm-hmm.
That was a busy one for me, but
Sure, that's natural. Anyone else want to share? So did anyone try that of just every time you notice yourself being distracted, just trying to bring the attention back? Did that work for anyone?
Yeah, for me, I uh, I started falling asleep, so I go into a dream state while I'm meditating, and so my mind just starts going off, and then I come back to it, and then focus on my breath. But it seems like I have that happening quite a bit.
Mm, yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Going into the kind of like you go into a dream state.
sure. Yeah, you can kind of start, yeah, falling asleep. Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that happens. That's too. It's all perfectly natural. All right. Anyone else want to share anything? All right. Well, okay, so now let's move on to some kind of nuts and bolts type details about meditating. So one thing is music. Personally, I like meditating with music as how I was first taught to meditate. Because music, especially if you use headphones, you put in headphones and play music, it creates an insulated little bubble around you that blocks out both the physical noises around you, but it also can help block out sort of the psychic noise of people around you. So especially if you're living in a noisy place like a house with other people or an apartment building with thin walls, or even if there's just neighbors close by, meditating with music and headphones can really help quiet all those distractions around you. And so, sure, technically, you should be able to meditate through any distractions, and it's definitely possible. But if you're first getting started, or if you've been having a busy day, it can make it easier to meditate with music. And so, why not make it easier if you can? And it's always nice sometimes to also try meditating in silence and challenge yourself to not be distracted by noises around you. But if it can just be helpful and make it easier to use music when you're meditating. When it comes to the choice of music, the ideal music for meditation is any music that helps you meditate. So it's different for every person. Um, you can, if you want a starting point, some of the music that I provided in this playlist can be a good starting point. You might check out other music by those artists or other related artists. It can be nice to have kind of calm, soothing music without lyrics. Lyrics can be distracting sometimes, but at the same time, the right lyrics can sometimes take you deeper into a meditation. And so again, it's a matter of personal taste. And I encourage each of you to experiment with it. Try coming up with your own playlist and see what works for you and see what doesn't. Everyone's different, and we all need to figure out what works for each of us. One thing I would recommend if you're going to listen to music is to avoid streaming music directly from the internet while you're meditating. That's because when you're streaming music live, you're connected to the internet and all of the craziness that's going on around there. So that can make it a little And it's a subtle effect, but it can make it more difficult to meditate. So you might try disconnecting from the internet while you're listening, while you're meditating. And most music services, I think Spotify and Amazon Music and iTunes, most services have an option to download music onto your device so that then you can play music offline while you're disconnected from the internet. So that's just something to consider. Okay, let's talk about setting up your own daily meditation practice. So meditation, like most things in life, works best if you practice it consistently. And so it's a good idea if you really want to try to see the benefits from meditation, it's a good idea to do it every day. And I highly recommend meditating first thing in the morning. So before you look at Instagram, before you start thinking about your day and everything you have to do that day, if you sit down and meditate right away when you wake up, that's when the mind is the quietest. And then it also helps set the tone for the rest of the day. So personally, I usually wake up and make a cup of tea, maybe green tea with a little bit of caffeine to wake up a little bit, but not too much caffeine. Then I'll stretch for about 5 minutes or so, nothing too rigorous, just a little bit of movement to help wake up the body a little bit with lots of breathing, and then sit right down in meditation before I do anything else. And so that's a good way to set the tone for the rest of the day and help keep you calm throughout the rest of the day. Okay, so that's step one for creating your own meditation practice is to meditate every day in the morning. And so step two, if you really want to go for it, if you really want to see the benefits of meditation, it's a good idea to also meditate at night. And so either when you get done with work and first come home, it might be a good time to do it, or maybe later in the evening after you've had dinner and after you've gotten settled down. So just sometime in the evening, it can also help you to then quiet the mind after your busy day. And when you're first getting started meditating, I recommend not trying to sit for too long. So 15 minutes max, or maybe 3 songs if you're using music. Because when you're first getting started, it's not very beneficial to try to sit and force yourself to meditate for a long period of time if the mind is just kind of wandering and running like crazy. It's just not useful to try to force yourself to sit for a long time. So when you're just getting started, just 15 minutes max. Okay, so step one, meditate in the morning. Step two, meditate at night, but that's optional. If you're just too busy, or that's twice a day sounds like too much, you can skip the evening meditation. Sometimes I'll miss a evening meditation if I'm just too busy or out doing other stuff. Okay, so step three is it can be good to create a meditation space somewhere in your house. So if you can find a nice quiet spot that's out of the way, it's not heavily trafficked, there aren't people walking by it all day long, that can be good. And it might also help to set up some kind of a little altar, so a little table or a stool that you can place objects on that are calming to you. So maybe statues of Buddhas or Hindu deities, just anything that when you look at it, it brings you a sense of calm or a sense of peace. That's a good thing to place on an altar. And so by doing that, you start to create a little meditative space so that as soon as you sit down in this space you've created, your mind automatically starts getting into that meditation state. Okay, so that's all you really need to create your own meditation practice. So meditate every day in the morning, meditate at night also, but that's optional if that's too much, and create your own meditation space. One thing, so for meditating in the morning, it's ideal to sit for at least 15 minutes, but if you have to get up really early and you have to rush out early, even just sitting for 5 minutes, or even if 5 minutes, you don't have time for 5 minutes, even just 30 seconds, but just getting in that habit of sitting down and trying to be quiet every day will help you, even if it's just for a little bit. Okay, so any questions about that, about setting up your own meditation practice?
I have a question. It's Helen.
Sure, go ahead.
Matthew, you spoke that you've been meditating for 10 years.
Yeah.
So in that time period, I guess my question is, in the beginning, it's difficult, right?
Right. Yeah.
When did it become not difficult for you and you are in the flow and it's really giving you benefits?
Well, some days it's still difficult. I mean, it's never going to be always easy. But I think pretty quickly I started started to feel more natural to me. Because where I was at that point, I was desperate to change my life. And so I threw myself into it 100%. I meditate every day and every night. And so after a few months or so, it got easy to stay in that routine. It wasn't a struggle to force myself to meditate. And so, yeah, I think it depends on what you want to get out of it and how much effort you put into it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and then some days it's still difficult to meditate. And some days it seems like sometimes there's just something in the air that makes it really hard. Either my mind is really busy or there's lots of emotions coming up. And so I think it's not always easy. No matter how long you've been meditating, it can still be a struggle at some time.
Matt, I have something that I don't pursue is like corporate meditation. And how helpful is that? And how often should you seek out, let's say, to meditate with a group?
So yeah, what do you mean corporate meditation?
Like getting together with a group to meditate.
Oh, well, I'd say if that works for you, then that's great. What I was taught is that meditation is really more of a personal act. I mean, everyone's path is their own path. And so for me, meditation's always been more, I've done the vast majority of meditating just on my own.
Yeah.
So I think, and it's, if you really want to see the most benefits from it, you need to develop your own personal practice where you're meditating just by yourself. It can be nice to meditate with groups, and I know sometimes guided meditations can be really helpful to help kind of get you into the mindset. But I think if you really want to see the most from it, you should focus on developing your own personal meditation practice.
Okay, thanks.
So Matt, it's Gina. Do you recommend setting a timer or just meditating until you feel like you're done?
Well, if you're meditating with music, creating a playlist with a certain number of songs is a great way to set a time limit. I've never used an actual timer myself. I think if I'm not sitting with music, then I more just kind of sit until I don't feel like it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I use my phone and it's kind of a rude awakening sometimes.
Yeah, I can see that. And an alarm going off might be a jarring way, especially if you're in a nice, deep meditative state and then the alarm goes off, that'd be kind of disturbing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for all your thoughtful sharing. And I appreciate the comment about turning off the internet to reduce the frequencies around you. Sorry, I'm actually making some golden milk. I guess where I was going with this, breath work. Do you ever do any like Nadi Shodhana breath work and then continue an intentional breath for a period of time? Or do you let your breath eventually just drift off into the spaces in between? What is your progression of breath flow?
Sure. So my opinion on that and what I've learned is that Breath work is just one of the many possible techniques you can use for meditation. So I've talked about a couple techniques here. One is the relaxation technique, and one is focusing on a chakra. That's another technique. Breath work can be a very powerful technique, and maybe in future classes I'll go through some of those techniques. And especially, yeah, breath work can be a great way to get you into a deep meditative state. Sometimes it can be distracting after a while, and so I find that when I really go away in a meditation, then I kind of often lose track of my breath. I mean, I'm sure I'm still breathing, but when I'm really deep in a meditation, I just kind of lose awareness. I mean, I lose awareness of my body and everything else, and I lose awareness of my breath. So I'm not really focusing on it then, but it can be a very useful technique for meditating. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So again, it's one of those it depends answers. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, Matt, you mentioned that you focused on the two techniques, breathing and chakras. And I wondered if you had, I do find it helps me to focus on the third eye. It's almost as if it's just the right direction for paying attention to that chatter. But I wonder if you have examples of other chakra meditations that you've done.
Sure. Yeah, it's actually for the last meditation, I was going to do a heart meditation. Yeah, so I think in terms of chakra meditations, what I've been taught is that the most useful ones are meditating on the third eye and the heart. Meditating on some of the other, especially the lower chakras, I've heard can be tricky because of the energies associated with those lower chakras, like the root chakra and the second chakra especially. So the way I was taught, for years, the way I was taught, we only meditated on the third eye and the heart chakra. It wasn't until many years into my meditation practice that I even started thinking about the other chakras. So I'd recommend for when you're just getting started, just focusing on the heart and the third eye, because those are very safe, very easy, very accessible chakras to meditate on. Okay, so we're running out of time. So I think let's move on to, I thought we'd close it out with a meditation. And for this one, let's focus on the heart chakra. So when we focus on the heart, it helps us get in touch with our emotions. So whenever we're hurt in life, whenever we're wounded, whenever we're traumatized, we tend to close off the heart. Or whenever we have to repress emotions, all these things make us close off our heart. And when we close off our heart, it's harder to feel the love that's all around us all the time. It's harder to feel our place in the world and feel our connection to the universe and to everyone around us and everything around us. So by meditating on the heart chakra, by bringing more love into our heart, it helps us open back up to the love that's around us and helps us feel our connection to the universe. So let's do that right now. So the heart chakra.
Oh, Matt, just a quickie, when we go into meditation, your music was playing in the background, competing with my music.
Okay, yeah.
So if you could put yours on mute.
Yeah, I will. Gina told me that too.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, good to know. Okay. Yeah, so for this chakra, so to find your heart chakra, let's do a little exercise. So everyone close your eyes and without thinking about it, just say me and point to your chest. And wherever you're touching, that's about the location of your heart chakra. So kind of in the middle of your chest, halfway between the front and your back. Wherever you're pointing now, that's probably the heart chakra is somewhere in that area. So that's where you want to bring your attention for this next meditation. Try to keep it focused on that area. And a nice visualization technique for this meditation is to imagine you're cupping your heart in your hands and blowing into it like you're trying to warm up your hands on a cold winter day. So whenever you're exhaling, just imagine you're breathing love and warmth and gentleness into your heart. And so we'll keep doing this during this next meditation, just breathing love, breathing warmth, breathing gentleness into our hearts to try to encourage our hearts to open up. And so if you're using music, you can go ahead and hit play now. Okay, so gently bring the awareness back into the body, reconnecting with the body. So we're a little bit after 6 o'clock now, If anyone has to go, you're welcome to sign off now. If anyone wants to stick around, does anyone want to share anything from that meditation? Was there anything, did you notice anything different focusing on the heart compared to focusing on the third eye?
You know, it's a huge difference for me. I've never meditated focusing on the heart, and I felt a little bit of a different. It's a different feeling.
Yeah.
Like I have a lot more. I could tell I have a lot more. Um, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like almost like a lot more feeling in it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. It's more of a chest feeling, like really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like a tightness that had to open up a little bit, and then it kind of melted away a little bit into the meditation. That's what it felt like.
Great. Awesome. Anyone else want to share anything?
Yeah, I felt very similar. It was very different, and energetically just placed my attention to a different place on my body, but also just a different place in the universe. And it almost seemed easier to not pay attention to the chatter.
Mm. Cool. Great. Yeah. So yeah, these are all examples of how different things work for different people. Yeah. Anyone else?
I had the same experience. It was much easier to focus on the heart
No.
than the
Cool.
third eye for me.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. So I think that's good for today. One thing, looks like Helen just unmuted.
Rowan.
Did you want to add something, Helen?
No, I just wanted to agree that I think when I'm focusing on the third eye, I feel like there's some effort that needs to sort of keep me there, and the
Uh-huh.
heart just right there. So it was easier from that standpoint.
Oh,
So it's nice to have that other option, because I always felt like the third eye was, quite a bit of effort trying to focus in that area.
mm-hmm.
And then if I lose my focus there, then I sort of punish myself.
Great. So yeah, so as you're, if you choose to start meditating every day, you can choose whatever technique works best for you. One thing you might consider, it might be challenging meditating on the heart in the morning if you have a really busy day, because as I'm sure you've noticed, you can start to, when you start opening up your heart, it can start to bring up lots of emotions. And so you
Yeah.
want to be, careful, really opening up a whole bunch of emotions in the morning before you run out into the world to deal with people. So sometimes it's easier to focus on the third eye in the morning and then the heart chakra in the evening when you're home safe and you don't have to deal with anyone.
Mm.
So
Well,
yeah,
can I say something, Matt?
sure.
It reminds me of, how our The Secret Power of Yoga book, she took a lot of the sutras and she wanted to take it out of the, if you will, the negative wording. So instead of don't, quote unquote, take from your neighbor, don't do this, don't do that, it was, more positive spin. And I think there's a balance. Like, I think that there's pluses and minuses on both sides. But perhaps, and I wonder if you have any ideas in this realm. When we did the third eye meditation, we were focusing on just paying attention to our mind, letting it chatter, then just letting it go by like clouds. Whereas in the heart, you gave us a beautiful exercise of just imagining holding our heart and breathing love and warmth and gentleness into it. So two very different frameworks in my mind. And I wonder if you have any other ideas for like your third eye. So perhaps instead of thinking, oh, it's okay to chatter, maybe there's some sort of directive that you could give us that's kind of analogous to the heart one.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll think about that. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, maybe think of something that's more, a more, encouraging or more positive technique for that. Okay, I'll think about that. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Thanks.
You can meditate on that.
But you know, this has been awesome. It's kind of started. The class was an example of how meditation starts. It was a mess at the beginning because we didn't have the connection, and then we got right into it, man.
Uh-huh. Great. Yeah. Exactly. Uh-huh.
Thank you.
So good to see everybody's face.
Yeah. Hi, Gina. It was very good.
There's
And do
Paul.
we get to do it again or what?
That brings us back to our class, huh?
Yeah, so I was thinking about maybe trying to do this every other week or so.
Beautiful, yeah.
That sounds good. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah, so I think
Thank you for sharing this.
oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you all for coming. Great.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Everyone,
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
have a good
All
night.
of you look beautiful. All of you look beautiful. You don't look like you're been under the sun sweating all day. Nice to see everybody. Love
Yeah,
you
so
guys.
good to see everyone. Much love.
Much love. Bye-bye.
Bye.